Good day, everyone. I'm here to talk about the importance of data comprehension in today's technological world, utilizing the cyber devices used in the World War II, specifically the Enigma machine and the Turing machine. My name is Lanz Alex P. Salamante. What to expect? Introduction. Defining data, importance of data comprehension, defining comprehension, mathematical patterns, data perceived by us, modern data analyzation, machine reading comprehension, Enigma machine, Turing machine, other examples of machine technologies. Our presentation is divided into four parts: the intro, the body, conclusion, and the references. First, let's define data. Data are units of information, often numeric, that are collected through observation. In a more technical sense, data are a set of values of qualitative or quantitative variables about one or more persons or objects, while a datum is a single value of a single variable. An example of a data is our grading system in De La Salle University. When we get a grade, it is our stored data, it is our personal data, which is this data is for the subject GMAT MW. So why is data comprehension important? What's its importance? Why? Let us relate this in my course, which is chemical engineering. After I graduate, I will work in a chemical plant. And during my working, I stumbled upon a problem in which a huge amount of data is needed to be comprehended or understand for it to be solved. For example, the turbines are overheating, and the amount of heat it gets, I will need to be able to analyze the said problem to be able to solve. The importance of data. Data equals knowledge. We make informed decisions based on data we gathered. We get the results we want. Data allows organization to measure the effectiveness of a given strategy. Data gives us the chance to be organized and to measure it more effectively because it is organized. It finds solutions to existing problems. Data allows organization to more effectively determine the cause of the problems, just like my example before. If we have data on what's causing the problem, on what's the previous temperature is about, we can easily identify the problem and solve it. Now we must define comprehension. It is the ability to understand completely and be familiar with. For example, when I was a child or on elementary studies, I tried to read a book which I cannot comprehend. So it leads me thoughtless and in a void. So I taken four from the 6 essential skills for reading comprehension. First is decoding. It is a vital step. Kid uses this skill to sound out words they've heard before but haven't seen written out. We can relate it into data comprehension. Codes, when you are decoding it, looks unfamiliar because it's the first time you see them. So we try to decode them. We try to understand what the data means, what the data is related. Next is fluency. Fluency speeds up the rate at which they can read and understand the text. In data comprehension, the more you understand the data, the faster you can read and to solve the problem and to analyze the data. And it is also related to vocabulary. To understand what you're reading or to decode. You need to understand most of the words in the text, or you need to understand the data itself for you to decode the problem. And it is important that you know the sentence construction and cohesion. Knowing how ideas link up at the sentence helps kids get meaning from the passage and the entire text. In data comprehension, you must know how this sets of data is related to another set of data and how they link up. So for you to analyze the data cohesively. So mathematical application, mathematical patterns. Patterns is everywhere. Everything has patterns. This has pattern. This plant has pattern. This crossroad has patterns. This shoe has patterns. This shadow has patterns. Everything has a pattern. We just need to see it to be able to comprehend. So take this example of a picture which looks like a ball of united yarn, but it actually is a set of data in a huge data web. So how do we see data? Humans exhibit a pattern-seeking behavior from childhood to adulthood. A toddler separates the blue blocks with red blocks. A weatherman makes weather forecast based on the atmospheric patterns. As you can see in this example, it is innate to humans to able to distinguish patterns which help them in their daily lives. In data comprehension, in understanding data, graphs and charts are used to get the data. And the bit string here has data in it. It has a deeper meaning in just the numbers itself. To some extent, we humans now use machine to process huge amount of data. Modern data analysis. But first, let us go past before that. In ancient Egypt, data analysis was used. Humans managed this feat without any modern technology or tools, using only ramps, ropes, levers, and sheer muscle power. How did they do that? They calculated the numbers of blocks required, the precise angle of the sides with the ground, the geometry of the overall structure, the water to sand ratio, the calculation to align the Great Pyramid of Giza to the true north. This was done by using data analysis, all this inscribed in a papyri, and which are all dated and detailed. One of the earliest examples of a spreadsheet and checklist, which is now Excel's. This is an example. As you can see, the organization is quite amazing, and they analyze the data by their minds. The development of computers and the evolution of computing technology has dramatically enhanced the process of analyzing huge amount of data. So we use now devices to analyze big chunk of data, or data webs, or big data. An example of that is R programming and the Tableau Public. These two are actually data analysis programs, softwares, and not devices, and not machines. Because nowadays, it's much easier to analyze data by using softwares. But before the time of softwares, there was the tabulating machine, which was created in the 1940s, which uses punch card system to analyze data. And there also is the IBM personal computer in 1981, one of the first computers introduced to us, which can only handle a small amount of data. And throughout time, we innovate and develop new ways to understand data. And machine reading comprehension is a technique where you introduce human-like parity into paragraphs, which was created by Microsoft. It is like an idea of concept where you're ranking the documents, but you're not actually grabbing the context lying in the paragraph. Whereas you're trying to grab the concept part and try to answer the question in a more human-like approach. For example, you are searching in Google. You type a keyword, a keyword, a key guide. The MRC tries to understand way beyond the keyword itself, and it tries to understand the concept itself to analyze, to further help the human searching. You see how innovative and advanced that is. The next one is the machine data collection. MDC offers shop owners the ability to capture information electronically and automatically in real time and little to no human interaction. This modern day technology helps many businesses in gathering their sales. Machines now support communication through Ethernet, allowing for greater distance for machine to computer plus a much faster transfer rate. So data are stored much faster and much quicker than before and can be easily done in your laptop and can be easily sent and transfer to any other device you have. It's easier now. But let us travel back in time. In a time where there was chaos and the world was at war. It was in the World War II when the Germans declared war and they created the Enigma machine. But what is the Enigma machine? The Enigma machine was a device used in the World War II by the German field agent to encrypt and decrypt messages and to form communication to better advantage themselves to the opposing side. But why did they create this machine? What are the issues? Because radio communication was common in that time, and radio communication is easily sent to the battlefield. It can also be tapped or intercepted by the opposing side, so it carries a huge risk. And pencil and paper encryption is not enough anymore to help them in the war because it can be easily decoded by the decoders. How to use the Enigma machine? The sender types in a message on the machine and out comes gibberish or an encrypted text which the opposing side has no idea. The receiver, on the other hand, at the other end, somebody's got one Enigma machine. When these clunky typewriters, they typed in the gibberish and they get the real original message comes out. And the complexity of the machine guarantees your privacy because the Enigma machine is one of the best cryptic device there was. The advantage of the Enigma machine. Basically, it says when you input a letter and you input a letter again, it shows another letter. And the beauty of it, and when you input it in the third time, it gives another value of the letter, which makes code breakers mind lost because it's hard to decode. It doesn't seem to follow any kind of pattern. It has a certain randomness, so it's a very good choice for an encryption device. Scrambled wiring inside the rotors is what leads to the encryption. If the rotors move, then the wiring goes in a different junction. If it goes in a different junction, it follows a different electrical path, which leads to another encryption code. The dynamism from the rotors that gives you the complicated encryption, and when the rotor's done a full revolution, there comes a new set of code, which the possibilities are huge, and 1 in 159 million different ways to wire up the simple bit of kit. You see, that small device cannot be um, cannot be you cannot maliit that device, because it is a very tough device to crack. And it has also disadvantage because the machine must be set up in the same way as the rest. So if my machine does not sync with the other machines, then there is the error in the information being disseminated, which leads to misinformation, and it can lead to fatal damages to our troops, into their troops. And one of disadvantage also is every month you have a bit of paper which has the setting for the machine for the whole month. That bit of paper must be biked across the desert, and yeah, we know the guy delivering it may be incompetent or a double-edged agent which can betray the sender, which lead it to disadvantages. And the key distribution is a problem, with it being expensive for the amount of paper to be sent to all the troops all around the battlefield, and it's very time consuming and risky because it is not a safe way to give directions. But what led to the destruction of that nearly impossible coding device? And that device was the Turing machine. It is a mathematical model of computation that defines an abstract machine that manipulates symbols on a strip of tape according to a table of rules. This device defeated the Enigma machine, but that did not take long. That did not take a short amount of time. They have to really calculate how to decode the system. And the Turing machine in importance in the war, because the Enigma lay at the heart of Hitler's armed forces communication system. The decoders were tasked to decode the encrypted text from the communications of Hitler's army, for the opposing team to be able to have an advantage to the other one. And because of the Turing machine, traffic analysis was born. The body of the message was unreadable, but the first few letters and numbers were not. In the code, this was the call sign, the address identifying who the messages was to, and from there was the crucial information goes. So they decode it because the first few codes has a pattern, so they understood that was the message is to be sent, or where the location is. And Welshman, one of the decoders, started to reveal the precise enemy forces that faced the Allies. Modern code breaking was born. So Welshman revealed the precise enemy forces, so that led to the downfall of the Germans. And this is a timeline of the data comprehension machines. The ancient times, where the mind was used, paper was used to analyze data, and the Turing machine, a time where a huge lump of metal was used to analyze data. One of the first supercomputer was the CDC supercomputer 6600. It is also a huge device which has the capabilities to solve and analyze up to hundreds of thousands of data. But nowadays, computers can also do that because of the technological advancement we have. And in our present time, softwares are used like the R programming and the Blue Public, because softwares are easier to use nowadays, because it can be used on simply any device. It can be used on your phone, in your laptops, and it can be easily transferred. So softwares are the main data analyzation tools, data comprehension tools that we use nowadays. So to summarize the discussion, why is it important that we analyze our data? Why is it important to understand our data? But when you see kasi, in our modern time where information and data are everywhere, it is vital for us to have the skill and the ability to comprehend and understand data. Data are now used in businesses, which helps them store their data on sales, on taxes. Data are now used on certain fields which are very important, like research, engineering, data, understanding data. Data is everywhere, and it is important for us to comprehend. But why did I use the Enigma machine as a main point or main focus point? Because in that time, I thought, data were not easily comprehended, and there was no means there was not an easy way to analyze data, in which that's why the Enigma machine was very effective in that times. I want to set an example on our previous experience. Kasi you see that just a simple misinformation that was not analyzed can be an impact to us. That's all. Thank you.